So the thing about the heart chakra is, let's see, I can't see. Okay. The thing about the heart chakra in terms of emotional sources of disease, like your whole heart space is here. And you guys can always look at like Louise Hay's emotional sources of dis-ease. If you're curious about what Louise Hay has to say, like she has this wonderful book, and you can just do a Google search, honestly, but she has a wonderful book, right, that many of you guys know here already, and it's called You Can Heal Your Life. And in that book, she walks you through each of the chakras for healing. But the other thing that she also does is, okay, good, much better. The other thing that she also does is she talks about, towards the end of the book, emotional sources of disease and affirmations that you can actually say into the body that help you to like repair the energetic inside of your physical body. And I think that this work, when I first learned about it, I thought it was the most woo-woo thing ever. And I have found again and again and again over like 10 years of solid hands-on, weekly work that it's not woo-woo at all. It's really, really powerful. And so, you guys, thank you so much. I'm like reading your comments and laughing. So hopefully it will sync up, but otherwise this will just be a very interesting life. So the heart space, we've said a lot about like why this heart is so powerful, but there are all of these things that our heart is connected into in our torso. And I just wanted to go through a couple of basics that I tend to notice as patterns right down the body. A lot of times when people's breasts are having issues, like if they're having like shooting pain in the breasts, hard lumps, things like that, our breasts, the soft tissue of our breasts as women, but also as men, they tend to hold this like the overflow of energy of when like anything that our stomach and our like lower torso is not processing well, when it and our right under our ribs, that we're just not processing. So for example, on an energetic level, when things are going well and we have bad things happen in our lives or funky things, we may get angry, we may get stressed, we may have all kinds of things happen. And ideally, those emotions just flow through us. In Reiki 1, I say, emotions are energy in motion! Woo! Right? Because you really want your emotions to actually just flow through you like a river, like emotions are associated often with a water element. And I think that's a great association to imagine that you just want anything you're feeling to constantly flow through and out. Like even joy, you don't want to hold on to joy until it becomes this hard expectation. You want it to flow through when you feel it, so you have more space for more joy. And it's the same like when you have a lot of anger or resentment that's building up, like in the liver or in the kidneys or like in your solar plexus, the stomach region. If you're not like processing that anger, it just goes deeper and deeper into your body, and it becomes very like hot and acidic, and it'll just burn. And that's why people that are angry, especially when you have unresolved anger, you can get like really exhausted, you get really tired, you might turn colors. Like some people that are angry are just like red all the time, or you try to escape, right? You drink alcohol, you do drugs, like you do things to try to escape the anger, but you really want to hold the anger, listen to the messages of it, and allow that anger to really flow through you and completely out. If it doesn't, it turns cold. That's how I like to name it. It becomes cold and hard, and it sinks deep into your energetic system, and like once your energy system no longer has space for it because it's not happening there, then that energy, like your equalizer switches kind of just shut off as a default around that anger, because it's too taxing for you to just constantly be angry, constantly be disappointed, constantly be stressed, whatever it is around that particular situation. And then, so when that happens, the anger doesn't stop. It continues to build and eat away and grow in your system, except now you don't have the emotional sensitivity to it, right? And this is why you can sometimes meet people and all you have to do is look at them and you're like, wow, that person's angry. And they're like, I'm in a great mood. And you're like, no, you're not. But they don't even know. They don't even know their body's holding anger or holding these emotions. And we all go through periods like this around things, or I've met women that have been in like long-term relationships that are really unhealthy and dysfunctional. And I'm like, how are you doing? And they're like, I'm great. My life is great. I don't know what's wrong. And it's like they've shut down to the fact that they're actually unhappy, right? Or that they're actually really angry at their partner for something. And this happens to so many of us. But the thing is, like, it's not good, because the moment that we lose that sensitive connection into our emotional awareness, and our emotions keep growing and growing and growing, like now, because we don't have the sensitivity, it's harder for us to clear out those coffers and keep our body fluid. So the overflow continues until it has no choice but to move out of the emotional body and into the realm of the physical body, which is trying to cope with it, right? And then this is when things go from being emotional and energetic into actually manifesting on the physical plane as something else, right? Now, we have positive manifestations all the time. Like, people can feel really, really great, and the goodness of their feelings translates into good hormones. And those hormones then translate into glowing cheeks and shiny hair and nails and, not weight loss, but like loss of stress or loss of bloating or inflammation, right? And the same thing happens when we're really stressed and angry. Like, it changes our hormonal balance. We have all kinds of things happening in our blood, and we get these opposite results. And over time, that buildup creates things like autoimmune imbalance, disease, cancer. So the breasts, when you start getting like things that are lumping up in them, it's really important to rub that out. And like, once it's manifesting on a physical level, you actually have to like physically move the energy in addition to doing the energetic work. So if you've got things happening, it is good then to bring in physical allies like herbs, flower essences, exercise, whatever it is. But the breasts often for men and women will hold resentment. The left breast tends to hold like heart, like deep disappointment, and the right breast tends to hold resentment for not being seen, or resentment for not being heard, or resentment for your love not being met. That, like, by the time it's turning into cancer or lumps or tumors or like polyps or like milk ducts that are, those are often the themes. Your lungs tend to hold grief, like anything inside of the lung cavity all the way down to the bottom. The lower the lung, usually it's older grief. But when we're really sad about things, like, and often these are the things we don't admit to ourselves, like when you're sad and you know it, oftentimes a lot of that sadness moves out. But when you're sad and you just are like, I don't have a right to be sad because I understand why things are happening this way. That is your ego straight up negating your emotional experience, and it's not good. So when you like negate that and you don't allow yourself to feel that sadness through and through, it can start to store up, and the lungs are usually the first place to show it. So they get very wet and damp, and like, that's why when people are often getting lots of chest colds, I'm like, oh, their heart chakra is really processing something right now. Or if they're getting lots of like wet lungs, I'm like, oh, like their emotions are so wet. They've gone into their lungs, their place where they bring life in. And they're literally not able to breathe in new life because the grief is so much that they're drowning in it. Like, they're just literally drowning. And that's what, when you think of all of these different lung sicknesses that come up, bronchitis, right? It's like when you've just been trying to move something out and it just won't move out. So there's not like anything special about, like, it really is as simple as it sounds. Like, you can just imagine, and from a very simple child's mind, what's happening in the body as a metaphor for emotions. And it has been so right on almost all the time. And I think this is why, like, in these movies sometimes you see, or anthropological studies, you see like forest shamans come to the United States and they just look around and they're like, this place is toxic. People are so disconnected from their being, and they're like, don't take a picture, you'll steal my soul. And then Americans laugh, but it's like, no, I actually that forest person is just really looking from a very clear-eyed, grounded place at the patterns that come through our lives. And our life is like a dream. So everything is holographic, and the patterns repeat and repeat and repeat, just like they do in nature. Look at any flower or any tree. Like there's a tree out there I can see, and it's got branches, and it just makes patterns, and that's the pattern for how it grows. And diseases have patterns in petri dishes, and we humans have patterns multidimensionally in our lives. We do the same things over and over and over, and then we make a change, and then we build on that change over and over and over. And so it's very easy to look around at life and see the patterns and go, oh, that's not going to work for us in the long run, or oh, that is. But we just have to become sensitive to it. So your lungs really hold grief. And there's some fun things here. So lungs, heart, like breasts, the collarbones. Gosh, my collarbone, I can't even see it today. Ooh. Okay. So your collarbones are I like this whole area we call like the breastplate or the chest plate of the high priest or the high priestess. And this is where your voice comes forth, not just from here or from the throat chakra or from the heart chakra, but this in-between space. This is the light you bring to the world as a light worker. And this is your breastplate of energy for the support you need in order to launch that. So I find it really fascinating that the collarbone, most often when I've laid hands on people, this area tends to hold your social conditioning that you receive from family around who you're supposed to be as a man, who you're supposed to be as a woman, how you're supposed to show up as a wife, a lover, a father, a mother, a child. All of those shoulds, all of the defaults, Daly should say this, she should be this way, she should act that way, that's what's acceptable, that's what will allow her to get into the right places, that's what will allow her to survive. All of that lives right in here, right? And so a lot of times, when we are really trying to manifest our heart's purpose in life, and we feel this kind of heavy weight, we feel fear around doing that, it's very much connected to the weight of our the social expectations that have been laid on us. And even if we have the strength to go, oh, that's just my work saying that, the harder pieces to really look at are what did our parents tell us, either directly or indirectly, about who we should be? And the direct is easy. It's the indirect that we really want to take time to clear, because those are the things that may have flown under our radar since we haven't really looked at them. So maybe your mother or father or parents, whoever raised you, whoever you were most exposed to, and whoever you turned to for survival, not safety, because our parents don't always give us safety, but survival to stay alive. Those people, they showed you through their living, through how they lived, whether successfully or unsuccessfully, how to move in the world as a human. And so if they had certain coping issues, you're going to be more likely to adopt those coping issues because they formed your template. If they had certain social phobias, you're going to be more likely to have those social phobias because they were your survival template. And some of the things you might have said, oh, well, that's really unhealthy, I don't ever want to be that way, so you might not. But there might be ways that you still adopt some of that without adopting it, right? I think they're dry alcoholics, maybe the person that doesn't drink, but because they witnessed so much alcoholism or they lived it, they still continue to have a lifestyle where they avoid their emotions and they don't actually do the deeper work. They just use other things as a substitute, right? So these are the types of patterns that can live inside of the collarbone. And when we set those energies free and we really do that work of coming to terms with what we want our beliefs to be, so our ego might say, well, I believe life should be this way. We have to really bring those beliefs all the way through our energetic and emotional body so that our inner child, our inner primal self is also opting into that. And so laying hands at the collarbone, I like to do a little butterfly, butterfly, and then lay the butterfly over the collarbone and do self-healing this way. Stop it, kitty. Ouch. Don't do that. My cat's attacking me. Hey. Hold on a sec. Oh my gosh. I'm in a war with my cat who wants to play. Okay, our time is limited. So you can lay hands on the collarbone and, really bring in like that Reiki and shamanic medicine, like, bring in the butterfly medicine of transformation and bring this idea of allowing what has not served you in the past to transform and be an energy that can transmute like those old belief systems so that you really have space for the new ones, right? So that's like really important. The back, upper shoulders, it is like, this is just so tongue-in-cheek right on, but it's like a lot of times people feel a weight on their shoulders, or if you feel energetic weight, and it really is like you're carrying a load. Whose load are you carrying? If it's yours, that's something to look at. Like, where do you need to lighten your load? If you have literally this, like the weight of the world on your shoulders, if then you've got to figure out like why you're carrying that weight, because none of us are meant to carry that kind of weight. It's meant to be distributed. We should just be carrying our weight, and our weight, when we understand what it is, we can usually take off. Like it should come and go very briefly, right? So when people have a lot on their shoulders, and that can show up as like just heavy shoulders, like you're carrying a weight, all of that needs to be worked through energetically. And a lot of times, like our bodies hold these postures of energy, like with people who have been through a lot of abuse verbally, right? Where their heart is just stunned by that. They'll tend to hunch forward as a way to protect the heart, right? So you see a lot of people walking like this, or working like being this way. Hi, I'm Daly. Nice to meet you, right? And it has to do with that desire to protect the heart. So the body just responds to the energy in the chakras. And when you're seeing those patterns, either in Reiki session, in healing work, or for yourself, and you're just like, God, my shoulders are so heavy. It really is like, what's the weight on your shoulders? Or I would sometimes get a pain in my neck, and I was like, what is this? And one day I got it. I was like, oh my God, it's the literal who's being a pain in my neck? And I have found since then, again, in many, many sessions with different people, that when they're getting neck pain, a lot of the time it literally is someone who's being a pain in their neck, that they just have not acknowledged that there's a boundary piece there. Like it could be like somebody they've been talking to that's bothering their value system in some way, or challenging their boundaries in some way, even though it may not be overt, right? If it was overt, they wouldn't be a pain in your neck, because you're holding them at bay. It's the things that are not so overt that affect the energy system, the subtle energy system, in this really intense way. So I remember once my mother, and I love my mom, God bless her, Goddess bless her, but I remember once she was like texting me some crazy stuff, and it was just like really intense, crazy stuff about the world and the state of the world. And I didn't like it. And I was like, I hate this. Like, it's so negative and it's fear inducing, and it has nothing to do with what's happening with me right now. And so it was very, very triggering for me on several levels. And I'd told her before I didn't like her to do that. So I was just like glancing and kind of going, whatever. And then later on, like a day later, I just felt this horrible pain in my neck. And I was like, now I'm sore. Did I drink too much coffee? Because sometimes that's a thing, right? Like your hormones will respond, And sorry, my cat was like, and so I went to, I talked to, like I talked to spirit, and I listened into my body, and it was like, oh, who's the pain in my neck? That's right. I have this medicine. I understand how to look at these pieces. And I realized, oh, it's my boundaries, like my mom, like I have to let her know something, or like reset the boundary there because it's being crossed, and I didn't notice that. So once I did that, actually within like 3 or 4 hours, the pain went away. And this is often what happens, because what we're really talking about are energetic inclusions, little structures of energy that are lodging into our energy field as a result of our interactions with the world around us. And they're not it's not something we have to be afraid of. Like on some level, I allowed that energy to lodge itself, right? Because I chose not to maybe reset, or clear a boundary with my mom at that point. So when we just reset those boundaries, then the energy can release. So, the shoulder thing, the neck thing, all of these things are very, very like super on the nose most of the time. Lower back, especially for women, the very lower back at the very base of the arch of the sacrum before the coccyx bone disappearing into the buttocks, tends to ache for women when they're doing either deep clearing and healing around, or when they're suffering and struggling through issues around identity and self-worth, and how they've been negated in their womanhood, how they've been not honored, how they've been told they're not enough, and or if they're feeling a lack of abundance or flow. So if there's money concerns, and a lot of times with men this shows up more as a money thing, it's really fascinating. But if there's money concerns, if they feel like they're just struggling for money or money's tight, the lower back and the arch of the lower back will really, really start to ache. And a lot of times we see people with slipped discs in these places. And all of that has to do with the sacral chakra energy trying to reset itself in those places so that the spine can have the support necessary for transformation, right? But all of this is like radiating out from the heart center. So you've got the lower lungs that hold deep grief, deep trauma, things that you don't really want to voice all the time. And then you've got the digestive system, like where we digest life. And people that are getting like IBS, people that are having lots of constipation, all of that is a sign of stress. It's stress and trauma, like even more so with the stomach. Like if you're actually just feeling really nervous inside or scared, those emotions, that's straight up hormones that are released through your adrenals and through your other endocrine glands. And they affect the stomach very quickly because your stomach is like your second brain. It's very, very sensitive to information, emotions, and stimuli. And it takes very little for your stomach to stop production or shift what it's doing in order to self-protect. So a lot of times, like people will go years and years without even realizing that they're constipated because they're just so used to the experience of being stopped up and being stressed, right? That stress is their norm. And until they come down from that, they have no idea, right? So I think it's like just an interesting thing that I learned years ago, because I grew up in a really stressful household for quite a while. So my stomach always felt really tight and tender. And so I didn't realize if you press your stomach with your hands like that, and you just kind of push in, try that right now. Just try it. Is it tender? If your stomach is tender, let me know. Just say, just type yes, it's for yes, it's tender. Or no, I feel great. I can just no, I'm great, But I'm pushing right now and my stomach actually feels fantastic. It's like Jell-O, but there's no pain. There's no tenderness. When I was young, if I did that, it was like, ow, ooh, ah. Sometimes I'd feel sharp pains in certain places. And I was like, what's happening in there? I used to be afraid that if I pushed too hard, I would break something in my stomach, right? And I think a lot of people have this idea around their body organs that if they push their finger into the wrong spot, it's going to hurt. But all that is telling you is your stomach chemistry is maybe it's going a little bit wild, right? That you literally have so much stress happening that the rhythms of your solar plexus are really, really struggling to digest life. So it's physical and it's metaphorical. And there's so much that you can do to heal these things once you become aware that that's actually not your regular state. I mean, you might be living it, but it's not... it's actually your body telling you that there are things you can do for more flexibility, right? More ease. So these are ways to start to listen in. Yeah, I see a lot of people saying, yeah, yes, yes. So likewise, constipation. I've asked people before in session, so are you constipated? And they're like, no. And then I've said, well, how many times do you have a bowel movement per week? And they're like, 1, maybe 2. And I'm like, well, how often do you eat? And they're like, every day, 2 or 3 times a day, sometimes twice a day. And actually your stomach, when it's really optimally flowing, your stomach moves things through pretty quickly and it will absorb nutrients. And if the food is sitting in there, it usually has to do with like all kinds of things. Like it may not be moving because there's gunk in the system or things are backed up. So it's like your trash being taken out. It just can't like move because there's no space for it to go. Your stomach is like an accordion on the inside, and things can get stuck in these little curves and spaces, so that the surface of the stomach the intestines aren't drawing in the nutrients that you need, right? So all of those things can slow down the process of your healing, because you literally do want to digest life every day and poop the shit right out of the other end, pardon my French, you know? So ideally, like, when I was 17, I read Jethro Kloss's Back to Eden, which I still love that book. It's like the Bible to me, but better. And he talked about we should have a bowel movement 3 times a day. And I was like, what? 3 times a day? This guy is smoking something. Like 3 times a day is so much poop. Like who even has that much poop in them? And then I started thinking, well, gosh, like if you eat a big American styled meal 3 times a day or even twice a day, you should have that much poop on the other end for the most part. You really, like, that's what it should look like, you know? And then I was like, wow, no wonder my stomach hurts, because I don't poop that much, you know? And so everybody has their flow, but I started working with herbs and healing and like working in the stomach system with my stomach. And then it was amazing one day in my 20s to discover that I could push with no pain, and that I was having like regular bowel movements every day and sometimes twice a day for a while. And that was like great for me. And like I lost a lot of weight. My whole system started to shift as a result. And my endocrine system and all of those chemicals that my body was pumping out also shifted as a result. And so I think like when we're doing energy work and Reiki and healing and light work, it's really, really profoundly amazing to get that, like, we're not just working on this non-physical plane, like everything is connected, and the feelings that we feel, like the spiritual beliefs we hold, affect our perspectives. And those perspectives affect how we emotionally respond to the stimuli in our environment. They affect whether we see the cup as like half empty or half full, so to speak, whether we decide to be optimistic or fear-based or pessimistic about life. Those emotional responses that we have translate into our physical body through the endocrine system, the limbic system, like all of these body systems, as actual chemicals. Those chemicals flow through our brain, through our heart, through our stomach, through our everywhere, and they are processed through our blood, right? And then cleansed by our liver and kidneys. And if there's a buildup of those emotional things in our blood, those hormones in our blood, then that our body reads just the same way as it would read a toxin, like a heavy metal or like McDonald's. Like those emotions are read the same way. So they can create a heavy load on your body. So it's not like, this is not woo-woo. I mean, I love woo-woo, but like it's not a mystery why things happen to us the way they happen, right? Lightwork healing is not like unexplainable science. It is an actual transformation of this direct chain of events that happen in the body, right? So if your body is busy, if your kidneys and liver are busy trying to clean blood from an overload of toxic emotional drudge, you know, and it's not really doing it because you have years and years of that built up from trauma and stress and exposure to funky things. And then your stomach, you know, is just like, that's just bleeding into your stomach. It's everywhere. And your stomach starts stopping up because it literally is being told, danger, danger, danger. And you don't poop when you're in danger. You don't like your bowels, your body does not process the same way. I mean, you can poop. That's the other side of it, right? But like when you're in fight or flight, or when your body senses danger, it functions differently. It doesn't just do your regular normalizing things. It either freezes up so you can go into attack mode, or it empties out so you can go into attack mode, right? Or like dead mode. You just pretend you're dead, and like, you know, and ladybugs do that. Like, if you try to catch them and they feel unsafe, they poop and it looks like they died and they pooped their guts out and they smell bad. It's just a trick that they use to play dead for about a day, you know, a day and a half, in order to get out of a situation. And as soon as they're safe, the ladybug just stands up and walks away and flies away again, you know? And so our bodies do the same thing. So when you have that tenderness in your belly, like, these are ways that your body's talking to you. And when you run Reiki or you do light work, you really are transmuting an emotional process and a spiritual process inside of your body, which will affect the outcome. In the meantime, once it's become physical, like we said up here in the heart space, and, you know, we were talking about the lungs, once it's become physical, you want to bring in other herbal allies to really support and stabilize that, right? So you can bring in things that help to clear out the intestines. Like aloe vera is really wonderful for a lot of people because it works like Drano, and it will just clear old drudge stuck on the cell wall, the stomach walls, so that you can actually absorb more nutrients. Because if you're eating and not absorbing nutrients, you might as well not be eating, right? You're just getting fat. So like, you're getting the fat, but you're not getting the nutrients. So, you know, like, you can clear out the intestines, and when you can normalize that bowel flow, then you're one step closer to actually creating a healthy bioenvironment and a healthy gut, so that you can literally digest life, process life. But you've got to figure out how to really allow your body to clear out those stressors, right? I could talk about this forever. Like, my mind is like, ooh, let's talk about how to clear out all the stressors. Ooh, let's talk about all of the herbs that the liver and the kidney love. Ooh, let's talk about, but, you know, like, we'll be here forever. So if you have any specific questions, you can ask. But otherwise, I'm probably going to start to move on. Let me see. So yeah, and the other thing you can do for that, like, achiness is massage your stomach, just like you would give the rest of your body massage. Like, very gently rub, pulse, push, massage your chest, your breasts, and your stomach. I'm rubbing my boobies all the time. In fact, I'm wearing an underwire bra right now, and that's really bad. I should just take that off because it's like, but you know, you massage and stimulate yourself, and this helps the blood to really move through, and it helps to break up the toxins. Like, I know for myself, even on my thighs, I have some areas where there's a lot of fat that's been sitting there for a while, and there's a lot of dense energy. And what happens is, like, when we get some fatty areas, or we get areas where it's stagnant, like if your stomach is hurting, it's stagnant right there. So what happens, at least in the thighs, is you'll just get these calcified deposits. So it's literally just like thick, hard fat and like calcification. And then like little pockets of toxic fluid are living in it. So all of those stress hormones that were pumping through your body that your liver and kidneys just can't clean out fast enough because it's backed up, then it just lives in these little pockets, like little tide pools between your fat. So when people are walking around and they're like, God, I just feel like I'm living in my stories and I can't clear them out. Like, a lot of times you literally are living in your stories. You've got little pockets of story from toxic stress that you had years ago living in your thighs, or living in these parts of your body where your lymph hasn't been able to get through to really clear it out. So that's why we have all of these wonderful tools and energy healing. Like, you know, in Chinese medicine, the Gua Sha, it's this comb that you basically like rub really hard, and it bruises your skin. It bruises you because it breaks up those calcified deposits. So those pools of toxic sludge can like open back out into the river of your body, open back out into your flow, so that the toxicity can move through the liver and kidneys and be cleared, right? And the fat can do what it's supposed to do, which is burn for your body to be healthy and strong, you know, or stay where it needs to stay for the time that you need it, whatever you choose to do with it. But it's not just living in a unhealthy holding pattern, holding all the trauma. So when you break up that energy, you really are like on a physical level, that is the way that you treat the physical body to help move out stagnant dis-ease or illness or things like that. Okay, so it's all like really real stuff. Aloe vera. So Amanda, there are a lot of ways to incorporate the aloe vera. If we're talking about stomach, again, I'm not a doctor, so I recommend that you would connect with somebody who is appropriately certified. But I can say that from a couple of places, like aloe vera, you just slice the aloe vera open. Like this is how my grandmother used to do it. You just slice the aloe vera open and you scrape out the gel from the inside. It's quite potent, and depending on the family of aloe vera, it's going to taste different, smell different, and be thicker or gelatinous or more wet and watery. But that aloe is very healing. So if you put it on your skin, it can help the skin organs. So if you have cuts, if you have any kind of physical stuff going on, you can test and see if your body's allied with that. But for the stomach, if you drink the aloe, like you take that gelatinous interior and you just drink it, like, no more than a shot, unless I was really constipated when I was young, and so I would have to drink like 2 shots of aloe a day, and that's what it took. Like Metamucil wouldn't even work on me. I mean, I went to the bathroom, but like it was not this 24-hour flow, So you just drink it and then that's it. And some people like to blend it with a little bit of orange juice. Other people like to blend it with hot tea, like chamomile tea, for example, or a little bit of honey. And it's quite a nice drink. It's like sludge, like porridge. It's like, I don't know. I'm thinking of a drink in my head that I used to have when I was younger that was kind of like gelatinous. It was an Asian drink. It was like juk, but not juk. It was like not quite a porridge. It was very smooth, like black sesame seed drink, right? So you can drink it like that, a shot or 2. There is aloe for sale at like the supplements area in Whole Foods or Oliver's or some health grocery stores. With those, I tend to only believe in the ones that are stored in glass because I feel that plastic is not good. There are some of my favorite brands now put theirs in plastic, and that's kind of when I decided it's just better to go to the Mexican market and buy a huge aloe branch and cut it open and get the jello out yourself. So, there's other things like instead of aloe, you can work with other herbs as well, but it's just an example of like wanting to get your system really fluid, right? Some people use psyllium husk or flax seeds or senna. It's just a way. So the heart space does all of these things. And then can we talk about one last thing? Do I have time? What time is it? I don't know where my clock is. I'm in a vortex. Are there any questions about that, Amanda? Let me know. Let's see. Let me check the time really fast before we continue. Oh, I guess we're kind of at time. Okay, so I won't say all of this, but the last thing I wanted to talk about is love. Love, love, love. I started February with this idea of these Thursday classes being a little bit more about love. And a lot of people feel very frozen around love. Like I think about some of my family members or like older women that I know who are like, I did it twice, I don't want to do it again. And it's just this lack of resiliency. It's like love is just so stressful and exhausting that the idea of getting into love again is just, But I think that lack of resilience comes from the fact that we very often have not given ourselves the nourishment that we need. So it's like the idea of opening up and being super vulnerable with somebody else is exhausting if we haven't actually figured out how to feel strong and stable, and as silly as it may sound, like when your stomach is sensitive and hurting, even if you're walking around fine, but like if you push it and it's sensitive, even though you're not noticing that on the daily, your body notices it, right? So you have a vulnerability that you're just living with, and it can be really challenging to feel like you're ready to rise to the next level in this very light, free way, if you have these deep pains that you're struggling with inside of your energy field that are coming from the chakras needing some more support and fluidity, right? So, like welcoming love, learning to unnumb so that you can really be fully present for the people who love you. That's like really beautiful work. And you can like allow yourself to create the space needed to really, really tend yourself, tend your body in these really basic ways around the heart chakra so that your heart has the safety to soften and open and really receive abundance from the people around you. If you have contentious relationships with the people that you love, then even more so, like before you go into like the deep dive of trying to heal those, figure out how to give your body the stabilization necessary so that it can do the heart work. Because heart work is some of the most tender, vulnerable work that we can do as humans because it's so powerful, right? So it's like really, really important to make this space for yourself. So, like when I was young, my mother was just like, oh yeah, well, you can just love someone and you just be kind to them. And if they don't treat you right, leave them, right? That's pretty much all she ever said about love, And I was like, okay. And then I grew up and I was like, okay. So my heart was just so self. And I was like, okay, I guess I have to love myself. But what does that mean? Like, I don't know, just what, like do what I want or just say I love myself? Fine, I love myself. And I think that people don't always understand how to implement these abstract ideas, right? So this really is like when you want to love yourself, it's really about learning to be extremely present for you, learning to be extremely present for what's actually happening in your body, in your energy field. To notice if you have a pain in your neck, to notice if the workout that you did created, shoulder issues that actually just need to be lovingly tended instead of you yelling at yourself and being like, you better do that again or else, right? Being present for yourself means hearing your inner dialogue and understanding what you're feeding yourself on the day-to-day and beginning to make changes in that so that you can actually have really kind and benevolent inner messages flowing to you at all times. Because like if you're wanting to be tender, vulnerable, and open to the world, and then you just got this slew of like hate messages happening inside of your own head, it's so exhausting and so stressful. And then when conflicts do happen, you're being beaten down from multiple positions. You have no safe place to go. And we've seen what happens to feral animals if we corner them. They get wild and scary. And that's what happens to humans. And then we're like, I don't know why I just freaked out, or I don't know why he's acting crazy or whatever. And it's like, math. It's like, just do the math. It's obvious, right? So loving yourself really does mean making this kind of space and time. And one example that I love to give is like, when I was young, I used to just go work out, go to do gymnastics, and I'd do flips and spins, and I'd compete, and I did ballet, and I danced, and I pushed my body to the edge, and I'd have 4 to 5 hours of classes, ballet classes a day, and then performances, right? And like just living. And I did a lot, and friends were often like, how have you done so many things? Like, you're not that old. And I just lived so fully. But the one thing I was never really taught in my living was how to like really love myself. I felt that I loved myself by giving myself experiences, and that's true too. But there's a way in which we can actually just drop very deeply into our skin and notice what our body needs at every step of the way. And the older you become, the more important this is, because your body starts to break down and starts to shift and do different things. And it becomes a very different body from the body that you know in your 20s, right? Teens and 20s and 30s, right? Or 40s. So, it's like learning to really listen into it and to give it this like lush love allows it to actually show you things about life and show you things that you're capable of that you've never had access to before. And that includes in the realm of love and loving someone in a passionate way and sex, right? So all of that's accessible, but you have to get really present in your body. So one of the things that I love to do that my mother never really pointed out, like I had to learn this on my own, was how to put lotion on. And I know that sounds really silly because you're like, you just put lotion on, right? But I have demoed this for people before and they're like, oh, right? So you take the lotion and you rub it into your skin until it like really absorbs. You massage it into your body, into your legs, into your entire body, because your skin is an organ and it needs to stay elastic and moist in order to really breathe and function, right? So you use a high quality lotion that would be safe enough for you to literally eat, like put in your mouth. And you rub the lotion in, and if the lotion's disappearing, then you haven't used enough. So you rub it in until you can see that there's still white streaks of lotion or that there's still like layer, and you let that absorb in over about 5 minutes. If you have to go do other things, you can. If you have time, you just massage different parts of your body and then you go back until that lotion's like massaged in. And then on top of that, you put oil. So you can use olive oil, I actually like grapeseed oil, or I like grapeseed oil or coconut oil, right? But then you put a layer of coconut oil or grapeseed oil over your entire body. Some people use sesame oil because it's grounding. And that like locks in the moisture. And it gives your body food. It gives yourself food. And this is so important because most people don't drink enough water and most people are not hydrated. And when you're not hydrated, you don't function. Your cells stick together and you die. And then you have to recreate new cells. It's ridiculous. So like we're here talking about our stomach hurting and it's like, what does that have to do with it? And it has everything to do with it. Because if you have stomach aches, if you have irritable bowel syndrome, if you have constipation, if you're on multiple medications, then your body has to digest all of that through the liver and the kidneys and the stomach, right? And you need like all of that area to be able to absorb and process efficiently. And to do that, it requires water. And if your skin organ, the biggest organ on your body is your skin organ, if your skin is dehydrated, then it's also pulling water in order to stay functional. So when you lock in you seal your packet with moisturizer and oil, you actually create the shield, the chemical container that you need to hold the alchemy that's happening in your body. So it's all related. So you put the lotion on in this crazy way I just explained. Then you rub oil on top of it, right? And then it sinks in, and then your skin is soft. My skin is so soft. And your body is relaxed because you just spent 10 minutes touching yourself and rubbing yourself and presencing yourself into every part of your being. And if you're doing this and you're massaging the breasts like we talked about every time you do this and getting, everything so that it's nice and soft and open. Like if I do this, it feels great. There's no pain, there's no nothing. If you're doing this and it feels tender and you're like, oh, then that means you've got stagnant energy. You've got like stagnant energy locked up there and you've got to break it up. Right? So just like you should be able to boing, boing, boing all the time. And that's going to keep you really healthy. So all of that, same thing, right? All of this needs to be really, so if you spend all that time massaging into it, now you've presenced into your body and all of those hormones are going to go, I feel so much better already, right? So that is like one simple way you can start to presence into yourself every day. And that is how you put on lotion. And that's how then when you go on a date with somebody that you're attracted to and they're like, wow, you look amazing. And it's not like just you. It's that your skin is moist and nourished and glowing with everything that you've given it on an energetic level, but also your body is functioning, right? It's not just breaking up stress hormones. So I think that's all I have. We're about at an hour, a little bit more. If you guys have any questions, let me go. Did you guys like this? Like, I want to ask you before you guys jump off, let me know, do you like this, or are there other topics that you want to hear about? Because I'm starting to make plans for if we should do some more mini classes for March. So I would love to hear from you. So I'm going to hold on for a moment. Don't jump off. Before you jump off, just take a moment to write in the comments. I'm waiting. And let me know, like, are there any specific topics that you really want me to talk about for these mini sessions? Or do you like not care? Or should I just stop? I know some people mentioned twin flames. And actually I started like really thinking about that and getting really excited. And I was like, twin flames, I want to do a boot camp on twin flames. I want to do a 1 week whole hog. Anybody who's trying to figure out their twin flame stuff, come into this boot camp in March and let's really talk twin flames. Let's really talk about boundaries. Let's really talk about how to clear things out. Let's really talk about how to cope when your twin flame is acting crazy or you're far and you're separated. Like, how do you cope in love, and how do you cope with this kind of soulmate calling, right? So I think I'm actually going to do like a boot camp on that, or like a twin flame healing extravaganza, that's probably how that's going to look. I'm still waiting to hear back from you guys. Like, if you have any specific topics, what to do. So let me know for the mini classes. I also have been doing a lot of different work online right now, just working on the back end of programs for my private clients. So I've been like building these cool things into the website that are password protected and that have to do with, like how to really develop your business, how to really stabilize in love and in self-love and healing. And I want a little sex module in there because a lot of women don't know how to access their pleasure. So I've been building a lot of that stuff in, and it's cool. Some of my past clients that have been in packages are going to get that as a gift. But let's see. Let's do a mini about money. Yeah, Melissa, I was actually thinking about that. That was kind of where my mind was going for March. I was thinking March is St. Patrick's Day, and that's green. And what else is green? Money. Actually, money is quite colorful. And I was thinking about doing like 4 mini classes about manifesting and money. Oh yeah, I'm glad the tips I gave you are working. Yes to the $2 bill. Yes to cleaning out your wallet. That is just the beginning, my darling. There's so much I can say about manifesting. Ho'oponopono. Yes, Radine, I love Ho'oponopono. I usually do a workshop once a year, and you're reminding me of that. So maybe I will do a live that is about forgiveness work, specifically the Ho'oponopono style, or maybe just a meditation. And I will probably also do a class on that. I'm not sure yet whether in person or online, because the class takes a few hours. I might just do it as a digital thing. I don't know, but it's such important work, right? Like, when we start getting into limiting beliefs and issues that we have, a lot of the time it's like we're just in these places where we haven't forgiven ourselves, or the issues we have with forgiving others are often issues we have with forgiving ourselves in certain ways. So I love that suggestion. I will take that as a note as well. Nerve pain. Yes, I'm doing all the things, but still painful. Where is the nerve pain? Where is it? Nerve pain is an interesting thing, and there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I've actually found Reiki to be truly one of the best things that I know for nerve pain, but you just have to run it a lot, like every day. I had some nerve pain happening in my wrists when I was younger from carpal tunnel. That completely cleared with Reiki. But I was running Reiki like a couple of hours a day every day. And then I also had some nerve pain in my connected to some bone damage. Just been through some weird things, and that nerve pain I was able to resolve. But once it got into the bone like that, once it was so physical, I also had to use herbs, and I used topicals like comfrey oil is an ally for me, and calendula and bone set. And so yeah, like we can talk about nerve pain, but the energy work will help, because really the best way to resolve it is you have to get to the source of why it's happening. Sometimes it happens to us because of age, but even then I found that it's usually connected to something emotional. Twin flames, good. Right jaw. Oh yeah, that's all like speaking your truth, boundaries, like the nerve pain, speaking your truth, boundaries, honoring what needs to be said, releasing old stories about who you are, releasing old abuse that's still trapped really deep inside of the ear canal. And then you can do therapeutic exercises around the entire jaw and upper body, and then inside the mouth, around the gums, every night, both sides, in order to get the energy right and to like fix the casing around the shells. And you'll probably need help with that. So, yeah. And if it is nerve damage from like surgery, yeah, massage, topical herbs, and Reiki, 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 for sure. March Manifest! Oh my God, Raydeen, I love it! Okay, Raydeen, I will do March Manifest here, our March Manifest series. I'm going to use that languaging. And Raydeen, in your work, I want you to do March Manifest there. And I don't know how it's going to look for you, whether you're going to be doing mini talks or special healing or special massage sales. I don't know, but let's do it. I love that. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I think... Oh yeah, Elizabeth, great about speaking boundaries. Just, it's always deeper, right? Deeper, 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 go deeper. It's where we can't see it. It's the blind spot. Ask your guides to show you what's in the blind spot. Do some journey. Okay, thank you guys so much for today. I really appreciate you being here. It really helps when you're live because I can feel the energy and it increases the channel. So I'm going to go ahead and post this. We have a lot of things coming for March. I'm working on some back-end things. I have been working on some of the details for Reiki Master 2020, and I will probably be loading that tomorrow along with a special, like a special savings for anybody who wants to jump onto a super hardcore early bird for that. But this year, the mascot for Reiki Master is so exciting. I can't even wait to tell you. So that's coming. And I think we're going to do the Twin Flame Healing Extravaganza. And we'll do some like money talk and some healing forgiveness talk and like that in March. And what else? There's a shamanic 4-week series that's local that starts the last Sunday of March, but now is the time to sign up because people are already signing up. So if you're interested in some in-person healing, some in-person work, and you really want to get intimate with me in a small circle of people here at Healing Heart Reiki, then that is 4 Sunday evenings, and it's the shamanic lower world journey. And there pretty much are no prerequisites for the most part for the class, but we will be working it. So if you've been wanting to get stronger about your psychic abilities, if you've wanted to get more fluid with your intuitive capabilities, with how you see on the journey plane, this is the space. Like that class, the shamanic journey class, is the class to really work those dynamics and like ask the questions in class that you need in order to really, really learn. It will be a really safe, beautiful space for it and lots of healing coming from it. So you can sign up for that. That's on the website at santarosareiki.com. And I think that's about it. I've been thinking about doing Shamanic Journey as a digital class for people that are far away, but we'll see. If anybody's interested, let me know. Okay, sending you guys lots of love, and I will be back soon.